A wealthy man walks down a busy city street, his steps purposeful and confident. He is dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, expensive shoes that shine in the sunlight, and a watch that catches the eye of anyone who looks his way. His appearance screams success. The people around him notice, but he doesn't seem to care. The city is bustling, filled with the noise of traffic, people talking, and street vendors trying to make a sale. But the rich man walks through it all, oblivious to everything around him. He keeps his head high, eyes forward, his expression proud. As he walks past a group of people standing near a street corner, he begins to hear a faint sound. It's the strumming of a guitar, the kind of music that would normally be drowned out by the city noise. But there's something about it that catches his attention. He stops for a second, slightly turning his head, and notices a man playing music on the sidewalk. His face shows no sign of real interest, but he listens for a moment. It's just background noise to him, nothing special. He adjusts his suit and begins walking again, already forgetting about the sound. The noise of the street fills the air once more, but for just a moment, the rich man's attention had been pulled by something simple. Something that wasn't meant for him. The music grows louder as the rich man moves forward, drawing him back for a second glance. It's coming from a man sitting on the street corner, right by a small coffee shop. The street musician is dressed in worn-out clothes, faded jeans, a loose shirt, and a cap that looks like it's seen better days. His shoes are old, but his fingers move skillfully across the guitar strings, lost in the rhythm he's creating. His eyes are closed as he plays, completely absorbed in the music. The sound is soft at first, but carries through the street, offering a moment of calm in the busy, noisy city. A few people are gathered around him, listening with curiosity. Some pass by quickly, but others stop for a moment, dropping a coin into his open guitar case. It's a small crowd, but it's enough to show that his music is being appreciated. The musician doesn't mind that it's only a few people. For him, it's not about the money or fame. He plays because he loves music. The guitar is his companion, his voice in a world that doesn't always listen. His hands move effortlessly from chord to chord, his foot tapping along with the beat. There's a quiet intensity in his performance, as though each note tells a story only he knows. A small child stands nearby, eyes wide in wonder at the music. A couple walks by, exchanging a smile as they listen for a moment. The musician doesn't stop to look at them, he just keeps playing, lost in the sound that fills the street. His presence is humble, but his talent is undeniable. Despite the crowded street, there's a peaceful atmosphere around the musician. For those who take the time to stop, it's a brief escape from the chaos of the world, a simple moment of calm in the middle of the city. As the rich man walks further down the street, the music continues to fill the air. He can't help but hear it, even though he's trying to focus on his own thoughts. Something about it is bothering him. He stops once more, turning his head to take a longer look at the musician. His face scrunches up slightly, clearly unimpressed. He stands there for a moment, scanning the street musician. The man is still playing, his eyes closed, lost in the music. The rich man frowns, his expression one of complete indifference. He doesn't see the value in what's happening before him. It's just another person trying to make a living, nothing special. He wrinkles his nose in distaste, then shakes his head. How pathetic, he mutters under his breath. His voice is low, but it's loud enough for a few nearby to hear. He looks at the musician's worn-out clothes, the shabby guitar, and the empty guitar case. He can't understand why anyone would stop to listen to this. To him, it's a waste of time. He's used to high-class performances, expensive concerts in grand venues. Not this. He scoffs softly, dismissing the musician as nothing more than a distraction. As the music continues to play, the rich man turns and starts walking again, the sound of the guitar fading behind him. He doesn't look back. The street musician's talent isn't even a thought in his mind. To the rich man, it's just noise, a reminder of how different his life is from theirs. As the rich man walks away, he can't help but laugh. It's a short, dismissive chuckle that seems to echo over the noise of the street. He slows his pace, turning back just enough to get another look at the street musician. There's something about the whole scene that amuses him. The musician's dedication, the people watching, it all seems so beneath him. A couple of people glance over, sensing the rich man's attitude. But he doesn't care. He starts laughing louder, drawing more attention to himself. He gestures toward the musician, his voice carrying across the street. "Look at that guy," he says loudly, clearly for everyone to hear. He thinks he's some kind of artist, playing his little guitar for change. His words are sharp, full of scorn. He shakes his head in disbelief. The people nearby exchange awkward glances, unsure of what to say. Some continue watching, but most are uncomfortable with the rich man's sudden mockery. Still, no one speaks up, and the musician keeps playing, his fingers moving steadily over the guitar strings. The rich man doesn't care about the crowd. His laughter gets louder, more exaggerated. Who even listens to this? What a joke. He looks around, as if expecting someone to join in his amusement. But the only reaction he gets is a few awkward coughs and uncomfortable shifts. He continues on his way, shaking his head and muttering to himself. The musician doesn't stop playing, doesn't even acknowledge the mocking. He's still focused on his guitar, pouring his soul into each chord, unaware of the rich man's cruel words. And yet, even as the rich man moves further down the street, he can't seem to shake the feeling that something is missing. Something he can't quite understand. Just as the rich man moves farther down the street, a sleek black car pulls up next to the musician. The car's engine cuts off, and the sound of the city briefly fills the gap. The musician doesn't notice at first. He's too immersed in his music, the guitar still in his hands, his focus unwavering. The door of the car opens, and a well-dressed person steps out. They're wearing a sharp suit and sunglasses, clearly out of place on the busy, rough street corner. The figure walks toward the musician with purpose, and the people nearby take notice. The musician is still unaware of the newcomer, his fingers moving gently over the strings, creating soft melodies. The record producer, who has been looking for new talent, listens closely as the music floats through the air. Their eyes narrow in interest. This is different. The sound is raw, unpolished, but there's a feeling to it, a depth that many professional performances lack. The producer stands still for a moment, letting the music wash over them. Finally, they walk up to the musician, who notices the footsteps and opens his eyes. The producer smiles at him. "Hey," they say, their voice calm but confident. "I've been listening for a while. You've got something. That sound you're creating, it's incredible." The musician blinks, unsure if he's hearing right. "What?" he asks, still strumming the guitar, half expecting the person to walk away. "I'm a record producer," the person continues. "I've worked with big names, but you've got something real here. I want to talk to you about your music." The musician stops playing for a moment, staring at the producer, trying to process what's happening. Is this a joke? He feels like pinching himself. But the producer holds up a business card. "Let's get in touch. You could be big." The musician is speechless for a second, his heart races. This could be his chance, but he can hardly believe it. The musician finally sets his guitar down and looks at the producer, trying to understand what's happening. "You're serious?" he asks, his voice a bit shaky. He can hardly believe that someone like this, a record producer, would be interested in him. The producer smiles, sensing the musician's hesitation. "Yes, I'm serious. I can hear the talent in your music. It's raw, unique. That's what the industry needs right now." The musician takes a step back, his hands shaking slightly. He's used to playing for spare change, not for a record deal. "But I'm just here, playing on the street. How could someone like me get signed?" His voice is full of doubt. He's never imagined anything like this happening. The producer takes a moment to explain. "It doesn't matter where you play. What matters is the sound. What matters is the emotion you put into your music. And I can tell you've got both." The producer's eyes are steady, confident. "I've worked with artists who have everything. Looks, fame, money, but they don't have what you have. The passion. The soul." The musician feels a spark of hope flicker inside him, but he's still cautious. "But I don't know anything about the industry," he admits. "I don't have the resources. I've just been playing for people on the street, hoping for a little change." The producer nods understandingly. "That's why I'm here. I've seen people with far less experience than you make it big, because they had the right sound. I'll help guide you. We'll start small, get you some professional recordings, see where it goes." The musician is silent for a moment, trying to process everything. Could this really be happening? He looks down at the guitar in his hands, then back up at the producer. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything yet, the producer replies with a smile. Just take this card, think about it. I'll be here if you want to take the next step. The musician takes the card, still in disbelief. His hands tremble slightly as he holds it, but there's a new sense of excitement in his chest. This could change everything. As the musician takes the card, the rich man, who has now walked a little farther down the street, notices the interaction from the corner of his eye. He slows down, curious, as he sees the producer hand the musician the business card. The rich man stops walking altogether, watching the exchange unfold. From a distance, he sees the musician's eyes widen with surprise. The rich man squints, wondering what's going on. He can't hear the words being said, but the way the musician is looking at the card tells him something important is happening. For a moment, the rich man stands there, unsure of what to think. He's been so sure of himself, so certain that his wealth and status set him apart from the people around him. He had mocked the musician earlier, thinking that he was just another struggling street performer, someone with no future. But now, seeing this conversation unfold, he starts to realize that he may have been wrong. His thoughts race. What if the musician is about to get signed? What if this street performer has more potential than he ever imagined? A wave of embarrassment washes over him. He had laughed at someone who might be on the brink of a real opportunity, someone whose life could change in an instant. The rich man feels a pang of regret, but he quickly brushes it off. He shakes his head, muttering to himself. It doesn't matter, he tells himself. It's just one person, one chance. But deep down he knows he's not entirely convinced. With one last glance at the musician, the rich man begins to walk away, still feeling uneasy about the situation. The musician stands there, holding the business card in his hand, staring at it as if it might disappear any moment. The producer smiles, gives him a nod, and walks back to the car. The musician watches the car drive off, his mind racing. He can hardly believe what just happened. One moment, he was playing on the street for a few coins, and the next, he might have just been given a chance of a lifetime. He picks up his guitar again, the familiar weight of it comforting in his hands. His fingers hover over the strings as if unsure what to play next. But then, without thinking, he starts strumming a few chords, a soft melody that's almost like a celebration. It's not the same as before. There's a spark in his playing now, a sense of purpose. His heart feels lighter, his mind full of possibilities. Meanwhile, the rich man walks farther down the street, his steps slower now. He glances back at the musician one last time. The sound of the guitar still floats through the air, but now the rich man hears it in a different way. Something about the music seems different to him now, something he hadn't noticed before. Maybe it's the emotion behind it, or the fact that he just witnessed a life-changing moment. He doesn't stop. He doesn't go back to apologize. But as he continues on his way, he can't shake the feeling that he's just witnessed something bigger than himself. And for the street musician, the future is wide open. A new chapter is waiting to begin, and his journey is just starting.